Right, mate, we're here. So finally, we're not in a coffee shop anymore. We're putting as views to the world. So, what are we going to talk about?
Well, this is like officially like the 200th podcast, I know, but this is the first one that's actually been filmed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're here. We've not really planned anything, but what do you want to talk about today?
I think it'd be a good start to kind of say where we're both at in life. I think the reason that we're doing this is because we have these conversations. We get quite deep. And they're kind of the only conversations we have with each other, but we think it might be good for other people to kind of hear as well.
Yeah.
So obviously, where we're both at is we're both business owners, we're both trying as best to keep fit and healthy, and the big thing is we both just obviously become dads, and that's changed us world quite a lot. So we tend to have a lot of conversations around them three areas and how hard it is to be all three or be optimal in all three areas, and a little bit kind of his expectations of what it was completely different to reality.
Yeah.
And I think it's like we just spoke about on his way here. No one really prepares you for it, but no one actually talks about being a dad either. And it's kind of one of the things where mums, like your missus and my missus, have both got circles of friends in the kind of get themselves a circle of friends who've all had kids, and it's like they're the new friends. And they have loads of chats and loads of discussions, and we're just kind of left to his own devices in some ways.
Yeah, well, obviously, you're how far in are you now?
Just over 6 months.
Yeah, so I'm just over 3 months, and obviously in the period while we both had babies, we've been having chats that we've been obviously being there for each other, answering each other's questions, but also being surprised at how much we didn't know.
Yeah.
And I suppose I mean, on the topics of health and business and all these things that we're going to go into, while we're on the topic of babies, it's just how much people don't talk about that really should be spoke about.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously today we're going to be talking a little bit about the early days and our expectations versus what it's been like in reality, and how much of it we could have been given a heads up about, how much of it is not spoken about, and because people are ashamed to maybe say some things that of the way they feel at certain points, and which bits are fun, which bits are less fun. People lead you to believe that the baby's born, you feel incredible, and then you're tired but also incredible throughout, and it's not quite like that, is it?
Like when you ask your mates, like the only advice is that you get is like, oh, get ready for no sleep.
Yeah, like generic
advice. Get ready
advice.
For that bad nut, get ready for that first smelly nappy or whatever, and it's like, it's just jokey kind of advice.
Or even things like, get ready to give up that you do. Because that's going to stop,
that's going to go.
Or you're going to go out, be out of shape, or it's easy to run a business.
See you in 6 months.
You've got no kids. Or it's easy to, like, let's say you're obviously training for a triathlon, you can only do that because you've not got kids. If you had kids, you wouldn't be able to do that. So it's nice to now be on the other side and be trying, like you say, to balance all these things that we've got going on, and actually getting to see the reality of what it's been like. And obviously we're going to discuss it now, but there's ups and downs, isn't it? There's certainly challenges, but it's also not what I was led to believe or expected either.
Yeah, so I'll be honest and kind of just put it into context. I've got twins, so it was a little bit different because everyone just said, they make jokes, so you're going to have double trouble and it's going to be twice as hard, and kind of didn't really know what to expect. But I kind of just thought similar mentality to when I did like my driving tests and things like that, where I'm like, well, everyone's passed the driving test. Everyone passes the test, and then look at some people who drive on roads are terrible, and that's how I kind of got over that. And I thought, well, look at some people who've got kids, for example. I'm sure I'll be fine. And then you get into it, and you're like, hold on, I've got no one to kind of turn to kind of ask for advice and stuff like that. And
so obviously you're talking about when the babies come then. What obviously we can go back to the moment when we told each other. So what was you so obviously to put it into context, me and Kieran know each other for a business for a while. I'd just been running a business event at Hotel Football in Manchester. We just finished the event, we were both on it, and we were having a beer after the event and you decided to drop a bombshell. So what stage was you at? Was it 8 weeks-ish?
Yeah, we were probably... We'd probably... I've told you... Did I tell you we were twins that day? Or did I say... No, I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
So
you
I
did,
think I think we were quite far ahead,
Yeah.
like 16 weeks or something like that when we found out it was.
I think it was earlier.
We were before the 12-week scan. We knew we were twins before the 12-week scan.
How did you know that?
We went for like one of them early.
Paid
for them early scans.
That was how I got the idea.
And,
so, yeah.
We went in there, and it was just the people doing the scans, can't remember the names. Karen and Joan.
I don't even supposed to know the names, really.
The actual term for it, do you know
Friends
what I mean?
for life.
Radiographer, or whatever it is. They just both looked at each other when they were doing it, and we had shown on screen, and I'd kind of clocked it and thought, oh no, is something wrong? But they were both smiling. So and then I looked, and I just saw two blobs.
So you could tell.
They were, yeah.
Tell what I'm saying,
and I looked at Lucia, is everything alright? And I just thought, I think that might be twins, but I'm not sure. And then we found out it were twins, and I never thought it could be twins, but Lucy was like, well, her sister's got twins. She's like, well, of course it could be twins. Did you not think that?
Yeah.
It never entered my
mind
mind at all. So when that came, it was like a bit of a shock, but I didn't feel like I needed to prepare in any other way.
Yeah, it was still at that point. It doesn't change anything, does it?
Nothing changes.
Well, I think it must have been a few days after then we was at that event.
We were at that event.
So you dropped the bomb with obviously one of our mates.
Yeah.
Who was in the same room, and then what obviously made it weirder is then obviously then I decided to drop the same announcement back at you.
Yeah, so
but mine was well early.
Yeah,
mine was 5.5 weeks.
Yeah, you were 5.5 weeks. So
that comes back to the first moment actually. I think where you're thinking this isn't right, because I really struggled for weeks from that mark until later on of knowing when to tell people.
Yeah.
Because again, everyone's got the reasons like 12 weeks, wait for the scan.
Yeah.
But how are you supposed to wait when you can't? Yeah. Like it's the biggest
thing that's ever happened to you, isn't it?
And I don't know. I'm not one of those people either that I just like to tell people. I won't tell everybody. I'm not going to start publicising it on social media or anything. But people close to you, I just want to tell them. Yeah. But then I felt like I held it back from loads of people because you're supposed to. Because I didn't want to look like an idiot. Yeah, but looking back, I was right to tell some people earlier, and I probably should have told more. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, what's gonna obviously the reason is if the 12-week scan doesn't go to plan, then you have to go back and untell, I suppose, people.
Yeah,
but it's not like people are going to be waiting for you to be being happy about the fact that bad news has happened. They're going to be, if you told people that are close to you, they're close to you for a reason. So that's one thing straight away where I was a bit unsure about what to do. But obviously I dropped it after 5.5 weeks, and then after I did that, I told a couple of other people. And then the other thing was obviously from what you just said, the early scan. I went for an early scan then at the 8 week. I think I had to wait because I was that early. We couldn't even go for the early scan. Yeah. And then that was a bit of a game changer because when we went for that, I think it was the 8 week mark, which is the earliest you can do. That was when it was more real.
Yeah. Definitely.
Up until that point, that was the other thing where I was thinking, do we really have to wait this long to get some clarity? Because until that point, it's just a pregnancy test, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that was the first shock for me. Just how long, if you wait for going to the hospital, it's 12 weeks. Yeah. You might have known for 5, 6, 7 weeks at that point. It's a long time to be holding on to something.
Yeah, it's a long time to
without
hold on to that.
certainty.
Yeah, and that beginning stage, you just want to check, don't you?
Yeah, because it feel real. When I went in that room, and the woman was a bit weird actually. She made the announcement by saying, "Yeah, I'm not going to do an impression of her, but basically the way she announced that the baby was there was by talking to the baby, by saying hello baby," and that was just a really strange moment where I finally got that certainty that there was actually a baby there. But it did seem not normal, because everyone must be as eager and keen as we were, do you know what I mean, to get that clarity. But again, that would have been another 4 weeks if you waited for the normal process. So that was the first thing that I found as a surprise, and maybe most people are more patient than me, but I found it really, I couldn't wait to get even the early scan.
Yeah. I weren't even that keen on, it weren't my idea to do early scan. It was Lucy's idea for early scan.
Well, I didn't know it was a thing, obviously. Generally, the woman might have more friends that you spoke to about it. Again, we're going to talk about it more, but we've not guys don't talk about these things.
I've not told anyone at that stage.
But even if you did, guys don't say, "Oh, get an early scan."
Yeah.
That's often that goes conversations that happen in female circles, I guess, where they'll already know that their friends went to this place, and that's what happened. We went somewhere that Helen's friends have been to.
Briefly,
And it was a really good experience, actually. I thought obviously the way we work, I was looking at it and thinking, this is a pretty good business. It's a good business model.
Definitely.
Yeah, in and out quickly.
I remember, funnily enough, good business model, in the sense that we did it, and obviously it were twins. And when, like Lucy had been, like they tell you to have a full bladder, don't they? So they do scans, looks like I need to go to the toilet. So I was sat down, and the woman who'd just done like the scan said, "Do you want to buy the pictures?" And I remember just mumbling some words, and I just said, "Yeah, we'll have the full package." And I ended up buying a video, about 7 pictures of just like they couldn't even see anything, but like £35. So Lucy came back from the toilet, and I've got my card out.
A t-shirt on,
a t-shirt with scan on, and everything. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was just like, "Just buying loads of pictures, pictures." And she's like, "Oh, okay." So we've got a video. And it's just
like when you have a roller coaster in it.
Yeah.
Random stuff like mugs and foam hands and stuff.
Your leg, but I remember walking outside and my legs feeling very like jelly. A little bit like feeling really like.
But you got to buy the stuff out because you've got potential announcements and that. And I don't know. I think we bought photos. I think you could buy like digital ones. I think we did that.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I think we printed some, and that was if we give some out in cards as announcements. And then it was the next time because we went. Did we go 2 or 3 times? Yeah, we went for the gender reveal one. And then after that we bought some stuff.
Yeah.
And then we did. I think we did a late one as well. Just kind of because there's a huge gap between the 20-week one you get with the NHS.
We were there every 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, obviously yours was
twins,
a slightly different process.
And had been high risk. It just felt like we were just living at the hospital basically. So we were there every 2 weeks for a scan. So yeah, and it was through COVID and it was winter and it just felt like we were there all the time. And
so you had a lot on obviously with going to the hospital anyway. But if you skip on a little bit then, so what was your process like between obviously finding out having a baby to having the baby? What preparation did you do? Because obviously I did a course, didn't I?
Yes. Yeah.
So I did the hypnotherapy course.
Did the hypnotherapy
so what did you? You didn't do a course, did you?
No, we didn't do a course. We did. We were at the hospital a lot, so we were like under a consultant from the start. So we felt like we had a lot of support and stuff.
Yeah, so you were getting to answer a lot of questions.
We were asking questions all the time and stuff like that. But then, like I said, I bought them two books. I bought that Dad FC book, and that was just really practical, common sense kind of book. But in sometimes you're like, oh yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Or I've never thought of it like that, and it kind of went into how you'd feel about it. And still at time, I remember feeling a little bit different and kind of I need to get myself ready. We need to be prepared. We need to get this done. We need to get that done. But I was more like mentally, I felt I need to be in the right place.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of took a shift and thought, right, I need to take my training really serious because I want to be fit, healthy, and feeling good.
Yeah.
For when these babies come, because I know it's going to be chaos after.
Yeah.
And like my switch were pretty. As soon as we found out, really, pretty soon, and I was like, right, I'm going to get myself a coach. I'm going to start training properly. I'm going to really ramp up my training.
So that's not a very common approach to take, is it? So that's quite different right away. So you basically took that as an opportunity to start getting bang on with your training, get fit and healthy and building a body that's ready for... Because that's the thing that people don't take into account. I think people are getting more knowledgeable now, but your nutrition and your body and the way your body performs is key to... Because obviously it's an energy... It's like having a baby can be a bit like a sport. You've got to be able to have energy for long periods of time. You can't be crashing. You need to... do you know what I mean? Be used to peaks and troughs. You need to... if you've not got the energy, it's going to be tough. Yeah. Even just picking up and putting them down. I mean, it's more for you because you're doing supersets every day. But picking babies up, putting them down, moving them, pushing them around. Obviously, the lack of sleep, but still performing on that. This is something that I think is probably getting more common now. But you obviously got yourself into great shape, ready to have a baby, didn't you? Which has put you in good stead.
Yeah, I just knew it was important. I knew I needed to be in right frame of mind and right place, and I knew it's like I said, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect from the sense of what it was going to be like. I just knew it was going to be hard.
Yeah.
I just knew, right, where people
And
talk about it's going to be difficult.
You sort yourself out physically, you switched on mentally. Because obviously, okay, so obviously now, but if you feel good physically, it's going to cross over to mentally, isn't it? And I can't stop saying obviously, but mentally, if you're switched on, you're going to be in a better place, a better mindset. For those ups and downs mentally, you're going to have.
I always said I wanted to be the kind. I didn't want to let my fitness go when I became a dad. I always said that.
I've always been keen to prove that to myself, because we've had people tell us for years that, as we said before, oh, I would do that but I can't, or I'd be in shape but I can't, or I would do. And it's nice to, as advocates for fitness and health through our backgrounds, we know that no matter what's going on, whether it's difficult, challenging, like business, we know that if we look after ourselves first, we can have a much better output with everything else.
Yeah, that's kind
of that doesn't change for this. Preach, isn't it? Yeah.
That's what we preach, and that's one thing that I always say, that you have to be selfish to be selfless. And I always say that because, and like Lucy understands that I have to make sure that I'm fit mentally and physically, otherwise I'm no good to my family, my clients, people around me, because I'm not at my best. And it's kind of like that analogy of putting your mask on first on plane, and I always think about that.
It's so true of anything. All these topics we're talking about, family, health, business, which are the main topics of the podcast, unless we start spinning off into other things. It all comes down to that, being a good partner and dad. You need to be looking after yourself first, so you've got that output. Because a lot of the time, aggression, lack of patience, all these things, stress, comes from not being in a great place, like putting your mask on first. We know it does, like even anxiety, all these things generally come from not feeling in control or on top of things. And if you've got your training on point and therefore having yourself mentally on point, and I've had to really watch that over the last few months since the baby's come, making sure I'm not, I suppose it comes back to protecting your energy, doesn't it?
Definitely.
If you're looking after your energy, not letting yourself run to zero, then, because when we run to zero is when things go wrong, isn't it? And obviously we don't want to be the people that constantly running to zero and then doing things out of character and irrational. Losing our temper, or obviously not super aggressive, but just being just being short, etc. But if we go back to where we were going with the babies coming in, so what do you think was the best things that you did in the preparation that prepared you for actual real life having a baby? You mentioned the book Dad FC, so that the book, was that a good one?
Yeah, it was good, but to be fair, one of my friends said to me, you could read 50,000 books and it won't make a difference, because when it actually...
It's theory, isn't it, compared to reality?
Theory, not compared to reality, and every situation is kind of different. But another thing I did was not get too caught up in that web, because I know a lot of people, they're good at, they're on forums, they're on researching things, they're going mad into detail, and they're like planning what everything's going to be like. So I tried not to do that too much, because I've seen where other people they're obsessed with being a certain way, and they're obsessed with, I've got to be a good parent, so this is what I've got to do. And sometimes, like we just talk about expectations versus reality, it's not going to happen. Like I remember when Lucy was pregnant, we were walking, we were at like a food festival kind of place, and we walked through, and there was a guy holding his baby. I don't know, might have been 6 months, might have been a little bit older, to be fair, and he was actually on his phone at the same time, and I just went looking to Lucy, I went, that'll not be me. But now I know, like I'm been in a place before, like even this morning, where I'm thinking, I walk up to a few emails, and I'm looking after Oliver, and he's like sat up, and I'm like, oh no, I'm trying to do two things at once, and it's just impossible. And I think if you read all that research about how to be a perfect dad, how to be a perfect parent, and stuff like that, you're judging yourself off an expectation that's just not viable. Do you know what I mean? Like loads of people show you on Instagram them with their kids, and it looks like, wow, they've got the perfect little setup for their kid, but it's like anything on social media, it's the highlight reel.
Yeah, of course.
It's not actual reality, and it's the same for us. Like, I'm not being funny, but I'll put pictures of twins like playing with each other, or doing something cute or looking cute, but I'm not putting on the 2 hours we had last night where they were kicking off and we were trying to wean them and it went terribly wrong and they're crying and we didn't know what to do, and we're just flapping around like two headless chickens, like not knowing what to do.
Well, no one's going to be perfect, so I think a lot of your attitude and
and it's accepting that as well. I think and that's what I mean in the preparation. I knew things might not go to plan, and I think I prepared myself for that, and that was good preparation because our twins were in special care for 5 weeks, and there's no way you can prepare for that.
Yeah, I think
there's no way
one of the things that we did well in the build-up, which we probably naturally were always going to do, is we probably worked twice as hard anyway.
Yes.
A lot of people, I think the mindset start to back off, start to mentally get ready or whatever that even means.
Yeah.
My best way to get mentally ready was to not think about it too much and almost start to, I don't know, I suppose it's like hibernating, work hard so you've got your business in a really good place, get your health in a really good, almost stack everything up in quantity so you could then afford to take a back step a little bit. So you could afford then to cruise for then the next few months. I was trying to get in a place where if things really went tits up, and I don't mean tits up in a bad way, I just mean I'm going to be at home way more than I ever imagined. I could afford it a little bit. And plus it takes your mind off thinking constantly about the baby coming. So I didn't think loads about it. Whenever people would ask me, obviously I was excited and everything, but I was almost giving generic answers. I wasn't
that's all you end up doing anyway, isn't it?
I was just like, I'm excited, like, good to go, but really I think looking back, I did almost I was aware of just how much I didn't have a clue what was going on anyway.
And you can't do.
And apart from the course, obviously I did a hypnobirthing course, which I'll just touch on quickly for people that might be interested in that. There's a few courses, I think there's NCT, isn't there? Do you know about that?
Yeah.
So I think that's like generic helping you get ready for a baby. And then hypnobirthing kind of does that, prepares you, but then it's also about, it's almost like a mindset course for the person giving birth, of breathing and how to control it and how to perceive the day and not, because a lot of the time I think they were trying to get across is, the day is chaos because we're expected to be chaos, and our breathing goes and we're panicking, and that's what's causing it to be chaos. But looking back, the course was completely useless. No disrespect to anyone that runs it, but it was good though because it got you thinking in a calm way. But really, everything went out the window, and most people that we know on the course, well, I don't speak to any of the people off the course. It's more the mums that speak, but they pretty much all agree that none of them stuck to the plan. It was all not nonsense. I'm not saying that. But it's almost not up to you how it goes.
No.
We were led to believe that you can control it.
Plan it.
But I think, like I say, I actually would do it again. And the reason being is because I think it was good to get your headspace in a place where you think you could control and be calm. I think if you were thinking this is going to be chaos, then the build-up would have been horrible. Plus, I mean, I won't go too much into the day itself because obviously it's not a great conversation. But it was such chaos. I think I would have been useless on the day without that course. Because I knew about all the kind of prep, I found myself, I thought, without blowing my own trumpet, I was really useful. Trying to keep things on plan as much as I could, even though it went off plan. Just trying to stay on plan made it better than it could have been. Trying to control breathing and also knowing your options. Again, you don't know anything, do you, before you expect a baby. So I knew about drugs and I knew about options of rooms and all these kind of things. So I was actually ended up being really useful. So I took loads from the course, whereas maybe for Helen it was more getting a mindset in a good place before the baby comes. Because I thought in the build-up, I'm glad I'm not having a baby. But I think that's something obviously that goes on with women hormonally.
We're not programmed or why.
There's something we've seen it since, haven't we? There's certain things they're doing instinctively. Just like, what are you doing?
How do they know what to do?
We've not got those same instincts, and we have to manually do stuff.
And that's something I did want to touch on. Obviously, want to touch on births a little bit as well. But kind of after when they were born, that feeling, and it mentions this in Dad FC, and that's what I really. The one big thing I took from it is that you might not feel different to start with, and I kind of relate that to your 18th birthday when you're building up to being 18. It's all you want to do for 2-3 years is be 18, and then it happens. And you're like, I don't feel any different. I can just
thinking, I bet I'll feel different when I'm 21.
Count
down to 21.
I can get served. That's about all the thing that changed. And I remember them first few days kind of thinking, not feeling like a dad.
Well, that's another one now, isn't it? another thing that no one's told us.
Yeah.
Like we're all I've ever heard growing up is, oh, the best day of my life is the day my child was born or whatever. So you almost have been built up. You built up to
this amazing day, and then it happens, and it is the best day because it changes your life. No one's mentions that.
Yeah, I suppose it's like the trigger.
Yeah, the trigger of what's the best thing that's ever happened to you. But the actual day and experience of the whole thing, nothing but traumatic and stressful.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I said it. I was really honest about it straight after it. When I said that the day was horrific, and the couple of days building up to it. There's no point trying to sugarcoat it now.
No.
And I feel silly saying that because obviously I didn't actually have to give birth, but it was a very, very tough couple of days. And then all I felt actually when Alfie was born was relief.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I was just glad it was all over and we could now. Because what you go through, you're just like, please, will this end?
Yeah.
So that was more relief, and like I said, one of the big things, like the tea and toast afterwards.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Incredible. Yeah, incredible stuff.
You've got tea and toast already.
Yeah. Literally, after Lucy had to go for emergency C-section, she'd not ate for a long time, and I think I had a little snacks and stuff like that, but she'd not ate for a long time, and literally, they pulled both twins out of her stomach, and obviously you're behind the sheet. And literally, like, they showed them us, but then they had to be off for oxygen because they were 8 weeks early. So they were tiny, 3 and 4 pound. So they went off into another room, and Lucy's like, I just want some tea and toast. That's all she could think about because she had been told that. And they said, oh, you got to wait a bit because you've got drugs in your system. She was like, I want my tea and toast. And she was just going mad. So I went to the room to see the twins and they were on oxygen and stuff. And that were like, I didn't know if that were normal, but all the doctors were so calm. Is this normal? And I'm asking people, is this normal? And they're just like, yeah, don't worry, everything's fine. And you're thinking, well, it don't look fine, there's a lot of wires, is everything okay? And like, took me to another room.
Is this after the C-section?
After the C-section. Right. Took me to another room.
The tea and toast room?
Yeah, the tea and toast room, basically. The tea and toast room. Like, do you want some tea and toast? And I like, just said yeah. I didn't even know what I felt, to be honest. I'd not actually slept for 46 hours or something.
I got a big build-up to the tea and toast, and apparently it was Warburton's toasted loaf on it. It's the best.
Could you tell?
With proper butter as well.
With Yorkshire tea as well, because obviously we were in Yorkshire, so we got that. But they gave me the tea and toast, and Lucy got wheeled in on a bed, and she's like, "Is that my tea and toast?" And I'm like, no, they're bringing you some as well. And this nurse was like, "No, we advise you wait another hour." And she was like, "I'm not waiting another hour." So basically, they just brought her it, and she was just she must have had half a loaf of toast. She was just absolutely.
Oh, it was good though.
Starving, but
what's
your best meal?
What's your experience then? I'm going into as much detail as you want because I can tell my story as well. But what's your experience of the theatre for the C-section? Because obviously we both had that.
Yeah.
Ours was obviously, we don't want to bore you with the longest story ever, but we'd gone through a lot of process. Waters broke 2 days earlier, so that had happened early, and then been in labour about 24 hours ish at this point. So ours ended up being an unplanned one. Yeah. So for anyone that's say maybe having a baby soon or had one, there's planned where you go and have an appointment, which sounds like luxury in comparison. Yeah. Then unplanned where you're there on the day and you might have expected it a different way, but by the end of the day they're like, actually, let's do this. And there's emergency where they go, we need to take you there now. So ours was unplanned, and we basically been going through certain processes and the plan, which obviously we was already way off plan by this point. And they said at that point, we think it was the best thing to do, the unplanned C-section, which they were expecting us to push back because obviously everyone comes with a plan and everyone thinks, no, I've come this far now, because we were way down the line, like 25 hours of labour, I think 48 hours of water's been broke, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I think they were thinking, because we were really close as well, but with everything that had gone on, Helen was exhausted, there'd been lots of ups and downs, and I think there's also a window from when your waters break, because Helen's broke really early in comparison to when the birth was. There's a window, like, you've got to get the baby out of some, like, you can't, because that's the fluid, isn't it, that's protecting the baby. And I think they were expecting to push back, but the second they went, we both just went, let's go. Because it was so tough. You were just delighted at that point to have somebody take out of your hands. Yeah. Because it just felt like, I've described it, and I know it's not probably the nicest way to describe it, like a horror movie. So you keep thinking you've let's say like a Halloween Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Like, do you already think they keep thinking they've killed him?
Yeah.
But then next thing he's back. It felt like that. Like you were right at the end and you're about to have the baby or whatever, and then like. No, there's another obstacle, or the contractions, which again another thing that you don't quite get your head around until they're horrible things. They come back and all that blah blah blah. But so we were delighted to. And what was really mad is I think they come in, get you to sign a form.
Like, we didn't even sign a form.
Really?
I don't think we had time. It was
serious shit on it. Do you know what I mean? Like you may never come out the room again. Helen was just like sign it, and then. I got my gown on, which was a bit of a surreal moment. Yeah. Did you put a gown on, yeah?
Yeah. So they asked me what size I were, and for some stupid reason I said extra large.
Oh yeah, you did say that. I remember, they didn't ask me my size, I think they just assumed I was rich.
You were small.
It's like, no, they just went, we'll put the muscle fit on you, clearly. But I whipped it on, which is another quick story. Like, people have said, look, Helen's parents have said to me since, in that photo you look really like a doctor. I was like, I should hope so, I've got all the gear on. I've got all the gear on and I don't look like a doctor. It's pretty offensive. But, and then I went in the room and I was really emotional. So obviously, a lot of people probably wouldn't usually say this, but I was like holding back tears because the day was so long. And it just felt like, one, it was like, it's finally coming to an end. And two, it's like, because it goes so far off plan, the emotions were just going up and down, this, that. I'd thought, there was many periods we thought the baby was going to come hours earlier. Helen already pushed to a limit. This was like, Joe, because it was sprung and you bloody hell, like, what is going on here? And we weren't in, and then it's just mad, isn't it? Like, it's about 20 people.
Yeah, there's people everywhere.
Everywhere.
I just remember really bizarrely when a doctor or nurse or whatever said, have you got your phone? And I was like, no, I promise. Like, I thought she was going to say, no. She went, oh no, pass it in, I'll take some photos. And I'm thinking,
it's quite casual for them, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, these are all really calm. And the funny thing were, when in between, obviously, we pulled one out, and then we've got another one. And genuinely, one of the doctors asked another doctor, are you still going to Bulgaria skiing in a few weeks? And he went,
really?
Well, I don't know, with this COVID situation. I'm thinking, what the hell? And then I looked behind me, and the anaesthetist was on Instagram. So he was sat behind me, and I looked behind, and he looked about 22, this guy.
Our anaesthetist, which I never even said that before, was unbelievable. He was like the most heroic guy. It was like Mel Gibson or something. Is that a good example now? No, but
this guy on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm like, and he saw me, and he's like, off Instagram. I'm thinking, this is like biggest moment of my life, and I've got a guy behind me like perving on birds on Instagram, and he's the one who's in charge of like making sure my wife.
It's just another day for them, isn't it?
It's just crazy, but another day.
One thing that I remember as well as I was walking in, because a lot of the people that were in there we'd see him throughout the day. You know,
we just walked into all new people.
We'd had the anaesthetist for some drugs earlier in the day, and we did a bit of relationship. Plus the midwives had come in, and so we had about half of it was our team. And then there was a few new people, but I remember walking in and obviously I was holding back my emotions, and the guy who was a new person, I don't even know what his role was, he just looked at me and went, are you alright? But not saying it in a way because I looked emotional. I think he was saying it because he was expecting me to be emotional. Yeah. And I remember him saying it, and it like really hit me because he meant it, do you know what I mean? It was really nice.
Meant it.
And it just makes you think like, God, they're unbelievable, these, because they're not being paid half as much as they should be for how important the role is in that day for you. But they're doing out the goodness of their hearts, a lot of them. Obviously they get paid, but I mean, like, a big part of the job is clearly they want to care for people.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and then obviously the other thing was the baby then suddenly comes, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's...
And it was mad how quickly it went from can't hear anything to screams.
Screams, yeah.
And I was thinking the soundproofing in there must be unreal. Yeah. I know it's something to do with the oxygen part.
Did Alf get put in little bag?
I don't know.
Because ours was so small and premature.
I don't think so. I think he went... Maybe, I don't know actually. Yeah. I think he got wrapped in some... They went, actually, as soon as he come out, I think one of our midwives that we'd been with all day said, do you mind if I take him off to be cleaned up? Yeah. And I was like, yes please, because I wasn't ready to hold him. It was just bloody hell, like... And then brought him back and eventually held him, and then that was when it was the nice part, wasn't it? But even then...
So we didn't get that nice part.
Did you not?
Because ours got put in these little bags, and it's because they were so small, and it would keep them warm. It was literally like a zip-up bag you'd take for sandwiches. It was like that. Really? They got put in them, and they came and showed us, and then they got took off for oxygen. Yeah. And then me and Lucy got put into a separate room, and then we went up onto a special care unit to see them. So we went up
before the tea and toast.
No, we had the tea and toast, and then about half an hour later, they obviously had to put them into the special care unit, into the incubators with all the wires and stuff that they needed, and then we went up to see them, And then we were like, that's when it dawned on us that they're going to be in there for quite some time.
Right, because at that point was you still under the impression you were taking them home soon?
I'm thinking, oh, when do we get to take them home? And then it became quite apparent then, kind of one of the midwives kind of said, oh, they're going to be here for a while.
Right, yeah.
And then they were like, they're fine, they're doing fine. They're both, none of them need oxygen, they've got obviously tubes on in them and stuff like that, just ready. And I think obviously they were fed through tubes for like 4 weeks and stuff like that, but overall for the actual size of Sophia, who were £3 too, she did really, really well.
How early were they in the end?
8 weeks.
Right, so it's a long,
you talk about preparation.
Yeah, so you obviously we know that you got caught off guard a little bit.
So Lucy had a hen do the week before in Birmingham.
Which really, if you
so
really
thinking,
any idea that it's coming,
yeah,
you probably like actually went off that one, yeah.
But my nan had said, oh, she looks ready to drop. And I'm like, there's 9 weeks left, nan.
We was 2 weeks over.
You were 2 weeks. Yeah,
oh well, one. I've done that classic we. So I've not to in it, but I think it was 1 week and 1 day.
Yeah,
so that was probably perfect because you like, for me, because I was talking before, I was kind of putting it in the back burner, just not overthink it. When it started to get to 34, 35, 30, which you never got to.
We never got to.
But that was when I was like, bloody hell, this is getting real now.
We didn't have that, we were just chucked into it. Like
the week before, or maybe days before, the week, basically, that when the due date was here, every night you were going to bed with a bit of anxiety thinking, bloody hell.
Yeah.
And then I remember, maybe 2 days before the waters broke, I think it was is it Braxton Hicks?
Yes.
Yeah, so she was having what she thought might be contractions, and I remember that night she went to the toilet like to kind of just figure out what's going on, and I was in bed thinking, please don't be the babies now. It was 2 a.m. But there was no reason why it shouldn't. It was just like, I'm not mentally ready for this.
Oh no.
And I remember almost praying like, please not. I'm not ready for this. Like the whole, because obviously again, we've been built up our whole lives to believe that the build up to going to the hospital is stressful.
And mine was.
But yours was. But really, it shouldn't even be a rush, should it? You should be casually going in.
Casually going.
And again, that's nothing like you expect. They don't want you in for ages, do they? I mean, yours again was different, but ours, we were like, please, can we come? Keep ringing them. But that was really good, that warning, because it then made me the next day to think, actually, it's coming and you need to get mentally prepared. So when it did come the second time and it actually was real, I was pretty chilled.
But mine weren't that prepared.
So
do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, go for it.
So basically, I'd been at a boxing event the night before. I met Josh Whale at his last fight. So I'd been part of his team before and stuff like that. So I was there on the night. It was quite an emotional night, to be fair. It was last fight. It was retiring. It was his own town. It was a big deal. And after we went to the after party, and then it got to like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking, and to this day I don't know why I got this feeling, and the feeling was, I need to be home. And I don't know if it dawned on me. Maybe I'd just been immersed in that experience of that day. Yeah. But it dawned on me that I needed to be home. I went home, and I was panicked I was panicked. There was something, I don't know what it were. I didn't feel right. And I went downstairs, and I felt very buzzing from the whole day. So I went downstairs, and I actually got a bag of crisps and a bottle of water and just sat in the living room, and it was about 2:15. And I just got my phone out, and there was a text on my phone, it said 2:10. Please come upstairs. So Lucy had heard me coming in, the doorbell had gone or whatever. She heard the door go. So I came upstairs and she just greeted me top of the stairs and went, my waters are broke. I just remember the feeling of the blood leaving my body. I was like,
surreal feeling, yeah.
So are you sure? She's like, I'm not sure. I'm gonna ring hospital. So she's like, will you get my bag ready? I'm like, I don't know what that means. Yeah. Because at this point we were that underprepared. We'd not even got the bag ready.
Yeah, you'd not got to the stage
where we needed to think about getting the bag ready for the hospital, which is a big thing. So I just started randomly putting stuff in this bag. I didn't know what I was putting in. Even nappy. I put nappies in. I don't know why, but I was putting everything in. Yeah. And when I went back into the room, she was asleep on bed, but on the phone. And I was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, they've said to go in, but I'm just so tired. I think I might have another hour's sleep. I was like, no, they've said you've got to go in. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God. So then I drove Lucy to the hospital, and we got there, and they took her into this examination room, and they went, yep, definitely ready to have this baby. And I was like, what's happened? She went, yeah, I think she's like 6 centimetres or something. And I was like, what?
And was she not feeling
happening?
like...
No,
she was
acting quite normal. And I was just like, I can't believe this. And then that were it then. That was like, we didn't leave the hospital for like 2 days.
I think it's 4, isn't it? They keep you in if you're at 4.
Yeah.
So we went in for the waters breaking as well. But they checked and there was nowhere near. So it wasn't in labour. She sent us home and said, if you don't go into labour within 24 hours, we'll bring you back in and make you go into labour. But she got into labour just before it. And,
Lucy got to full dilation as well. She got to full dilation and she was pushing, but like his head was a bit wonky.
Oh, well, that's when
he
you did change
first.
plan, yeah.
So she'd been pushing for an hour and she was so tired, and they said, I can't remember if Lucy went, is there anything else we can do to get his babies out? And they went, we can take you for a C-section. She went, yeah, I'm in. And then it was funny because, well, not funny, but it was 11 o'clock and Lucy was like, the only thing she was worried about were if they were born on separate days. She kept saying to him, will you get them both out at the same time? I was like, Lucy, I don't think they need that pressure on top of them as well as what they're doing right now. But they were just born within
is it getting close to midnight?
Getting close to midnight.
Right.
Lucy was like, what do we do? And that's the only thing she was worried about, what if they'd be born on separate days or what had happened. And I was like, I don't think that's important right now.
It's something you have to explain.
And in my mind, I'm thinking that 8 weeks early, is everything going to be okay? We knew that one were a lot smaller than other. We knew that the girl was smaller than the boy, and I'm worried about that.
Were they talking about that at the time? Like they're probably going to be kept in, or they never mentioned it?
No, we'd not talked about it. No, and obviously straight after they were born and we went to see them in special care, we were like, what do we do now? And Lucy were going to get taken to a ward, and I said, what do I do? And they went, just go home and get some rest.
Yeah, well, that's what happened with
so
me.
So weird, I'd not even held him.
By that, well, we got a chance to hold him and we had a little bit of time. What happened? They kept getting took away different things, and then we was in a similar room to what you're mentioning, where the tea and toast room. I think it was called recovery.
Not called.
And then obviously you went to two different. We went. I remember actually we got. They'd take you to through all the lifts and all that on a bed to postnatal.
Yeah, that's
and then you'll have gone into maybe postnatal, but then the babies will have gone elsewhere.
Special care, yeah.
So we'll leave it on that cliffhanger. Right? We both obviously had a very different experience from there, but probably for another podcast now.
Yeah. But
I think we covered all the build-up.
Yeah, what I would say is the expectations and reality, it's different for everyone.
Oh, the build-up.
The build-up's different for everyone, the birth's different for everyone, what you experience after. So no matter how many people you ask.
Yeah, and everyone thinks that their story is the norm pretty much. Yeah. So ultimately, no one's got control of it.
Yeah.
The only thing you can control, which I suppose it comes back to what we said at the beginning, is yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can get yourself in the best possible physical, mental shape. Whatever you do for a living and things like that, get that into good shape, so you can ultimately be totally present for what's about to happen.
And that's the best you can possibly do as a dad. And I think that's sometimes what you feel a little bit helpless in the whole process of it.
Yeah.
Because you feel like second fiddle. Because it's not really about you.
There's enough going on, isn't there, for you to not be one of the things to worry about. Yeah. So really, you need to be, like I say, the best headspace and whatever anything else that you need to have in place to be on form, I guess, for the build up. Because obviously there's lots of preparations outside of the babies themselves, like their home and blah 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 that we've not touched on. So there's loads of that to be sorting. But for me, like I said, getting myself into a mental space for what was about to happen on the day, which I'm glad I did now, and actually have some usable skills and knowledge was useful, and then physical, like you say, because obviously we didn't touch on it. Well, you were having goals. I actually did a jiu-jitsu competition to build up to babies a few months before they were born, which was good to keep you distracted and keep you on track, and it falls in line obviously with not drinking as much, etc. But yeah, I mean, just to summarise then, what one thing would you do differently in the build-up if you did it again, or would you do anything differently?
One thing I'd do different. I think we did. I think we did everything that we needed to do, because we couldn't really be prepared for what happened. We're coming 8 weeks early. If I could change one thing, it'd probably not drinking that night. In hindsight,
yeah.
Not that anything bad happened, but I'll always have to live with the fact that I drank that night that I
so
had
you
to drive my
weren't
wife
meant
to hospital, which is
You weren't
like
meant to
that,
prepared,
which is not really something that I'd say. I'd
but
normally
obviously, to put it in context, you weren't
I
drunk
wasn't
or
smashed.
anything. You weren't.
No,
you
I'd
just,
had three,
just
four
you'd rather
drinks,
just be sharp,
but I'd rather have not done that because
Mm.
I automatically felt like I got off on a bad foot.
Yeah,
and you think
you're
about
playing
bad
catch-up.
scenarios and things
you're
like
playing
that,
catch-up,
and stuff like that. So obviously, that 100% won. But I think really I'd like to talk to people who are a bit more open about things. A lot of my friends, and this is partly why we're doing this, is people are a bit more to be more open about it, because your mates just give poor advice, and I think I'd like to help other people that I know be a little bit more prepared and just let them know that whatever you're feeling's okay. There's no normal and there's no standardised way you should deal with things. I think that's probably where me and you might struggle, because we're used to in business standardising a lot of things and things work through a process.
Yeah, it's controlling the controllables, isn't it?
Control the controllables.
So you were as best prepared as you could have been.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah. Bang on. Good stuff.
Cool.
Time for some tea and toast.